that's all right.
Yeah.
2 is a
Yeah, I
quorum.
guess 2's better than none.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
But you only have a 3-member board, 2 is a quorum.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand what happened with getting notified about the meeting.
Well, since the wrong date was on it, the town clerk couldn't hold it. She didn't feel comfortable.
When did you find out about the wrong date?
I found out yesterday at 10:04. Literally at 10:04.
So at 10:04 you found out the wrong date. My meeting was at 2 hours. These gentlemen didn't know that they had a Board of Assessment meeting yesterday?
I spoke to these gentlemen, but we're here now, so why don't we have a seat? So, well, we can discuss it. Well, I don't think we're here for that. I think we're here to discuss your meeting, so we'd be really glad to go forward with that.
Yeah, well, I'm meeting with the board. You're not a member of the board.
I'm the secretary.
You're not supposed to be a member of the board.
I'm not a member of the board. I'm the secretary.
Okay, so yeah.
Well, I always invite
But I
her
always
to sit
come
on.
to the
She takes the minutes, she takes the notes, and at the end, we sign off on everything.
Now, before we start, I do have to, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do, provided that you provide the right information on Q Public and in the grammar, because that's where I base my information on. So as long as it's corrected from your knowledge, then then I'm correct. So based on what I found on Q Public and the grammar, then we're good. Because this information came to me.
Okay.
So here you go, here's a copy of my appeal. Put it back. Can I just ask Michelle, Eric said to me on the phone call today that my appeal was filed incorrectly. I just want to...
Well, you have to put your the estimate of fair market value, and you need to attach documentation of value. You can't just hand in one piece of paper.
Okay,
which
did
I
not
didn't
say
get.
for fair market value. And when
Estimate of value is fair market. That's why I kind of just let it slide. I got the impression you put AV for assessed value. It is fair market value.
Okay, but
so
it
that's
doesn't
the
say
law.
that.
That's, I know, but estimate of value means fair market value.
That's the law.
100%.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then attach documentation of value. You have to attach what they could review prior, because they had no information to review prior to the meeting.
And I did try
know about the meeting.
many times to ask.
When I spoke to you
on
a couple
Thursday,
times. You get very heated, Carla, and we don't get to have a conversation. So I didn't really get
we
to...
spoke once.
We spoke on numerous occasions.
Oh, please. Okay. March 18th, when I filed this, I called you the very next day and asked if you received the application.
I said I received it, yes.
And you didn't say there was any problem with it.
I didn't have a chance to look at it. I received it. I did get
Don't
it.
you think that if there was a problem, you should have called me and let me know?
Well, because we're a small town. Average value, assessed value, we decided to accept it. We only had one appeal. We didn't have to
Okay,
accept
so
it.
then that's not important.
You know, but it's really
not
is
important.
water under the bridge. You're here, we're having a meeting, and that's it. So if you want to pick apart things that haven't been done, you're here.
I don't think there's enough time for that. Let's just stick
Yes,
to the
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I understand that. Tax collector's position, assessor's position are very different.
So I'm glad you're aware of that. Okay. Here's my direction where I'm coming from. I mean, I have been living here for 10 years, and I am a tax collector in another town. I've been certified for 20 years. I've worked in an assessor's office before. So I just wanted you to know my background coming into this. That being said, I drew this up. I did, I speak to an assessor that I know, and she directed me on how I could go about appealing and what I should do. I need to go find comparable sales from 18 months from the date of the grand list. So I did go back in our system. And so I found the most comparable sales that were available on the assessor's website, Q Public.
Oh, excuse me.
Using...
Point of order. Have we called the meeting to order?
My goodness, no, you haven't.
Thank you, Tom.
Everyone walked in at the same time. Well, let's just back up. Call the meeting to order.
Call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
Do I need to redo that, or we're going to...
No, as long as you're
Under oath, I think...
under oath. I think we're all here. I think we're all
Okay,
here for that.
so using the size and age as a starting point, 3 houses came up as being comparable. So that's where, if you want to refer to this. But the first one is my property, my husband and my property. 2,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, central air. The town valued it on the grand list for $349,000. So I found a comparable sale at 27 Town Line Road, which is it's 2,100 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, central air. The town valued that at $323,810. And that sold recently. There's a typo in here. It should be 2014. That sold for $324,000. The next one was 94 Allen White Road, a little bit bigger than mine, 2,436 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, no AC. The town valued that at $329,970. That sold in May of 14 for $330. 281 Watertown Road, I threw that one on there. It's a little bit smaller than mine, but 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, no AC. The town valued that at $240,160. That sold in 13, still within the 18 months, for $239,900. That's a ranch. The other ones, there were no comparable ranches that sold in Morris in the last couple of years, so this would be the next closest. But 281 Watertown Road is a ranch, similar to mine. It's newer and has a higher grade from the assessor than mine, which is, it says excellent as opposed to like average plus 10, and it's smaller, but it's also over $100,000 less in value than mine. So that is very odd, very, very strange there. All of the comparable houses that I have recently sold are valued by the town at nearly 100% of their sale price. I respectfully request that you consider adjusting the value of my home to $325,000. And it would be in line with the rest of the neighborhood at that value. I did circle the information, on each of these that I pulled, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I'll say, Dale, you have any questions? Because I know I've talked to you several times, and you kind of gave me a heads up on what we were going to be looking at, what the issues were.
Not on the comps,
Are there any issues on the comps? Because I know sometimes...
Well, 27 Town Line's a colonial, not a ranch, but as Carla said, we didn't have, all our ranches were mostly foreclosures, or we had an issue with them. I only pulled up 3 ranches that probably are not comparables to 67.
On 27 Town Line, the market value came down $25,000. On 94, it came down $19,000. I know you're
I
saying...
did mention to Eric that looking at your land, it seemed a little high. Just your land value. Your house value is $219,000. I don't think you could rebuild your house for $219,000. That was just my opinion, but no, we don't. Colonial is 27 Town Line. Watertown Road is comparable, but it's also a main road, less acreage, if I'm not mistaken. Main roads, as compared to Hickory Hill, are very different properties. But 283 is comparable.
The reason why I asked is because I didn't want, after the meeting, because sometimes hardship cases come up, and she's more privy to that type of thing than we are, and she'll be like, oh no, that was somebody's mother selling it to their son, or...
Those are also indicators they're not a qualifying sale on the bottom.
Right,
So that wasn't the case in any of these.
You'd be amazed how many people come in with those, foreclosures, and say, oh, look at what they sold this house for, and my house is right next to it.
Yeah, but the ones I did find weren't the case, and those are, if the information is accurate, they are listed on there if they're not a qualified sale. If it's an interfamily, actually one of the ones, a prior sale to this one said unqualified because it was intercorporation. So it does indicate that, and these were not the case on these two.
Usually an appraiser, instead of going to a colonial for a ranch, will go to a cape instead of colonial. So that would be the next thing for a ranch, to compare it to a cape, not a colonial.
Okay, well, I guess the assessors have different opinions, but that's not what mine directed me to.
That would be the proper appraisal that you handle it. So you first go to a cape, then you go to the colonial ranch.
Well, I'll mention it to my
But we
assessor.
don't have many ranch sales in here. I was just telling you. But yeah.
No, I know. I have scoured the entire department,
Yeah.
quite a thing going on here.
No, this is good. I don't have any, there's no issues with the documents you presented.
Thank you. I do spend a lot of time doing this and a lot of due diligence in it. If I didn't think I had a leg to stand on, believe me, I wouldn't waste any time on mine.
No problem. Yeah, like I said, I really don't have any comments or questions for you. I think everything was pretty thorough that you gave in.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that, there was nothing, no evidence or anything that would be surprising after the fact. I think we all agree. Comps are good.
And I don't feel that I'm asking for anything way out of the line of, like you said, the neighborhood, we talked about that. Most of them went down 8 or 9%. I'm just looking to be in the line with the rest of the neighborhood, which is not if you've been up the neighborhood, it's a nice neighborhood. There's nothing that would bring the values down or up. It's a very stable neighborhood where everybody's, doing nice things to their homes, and it is a nicer neighborhood. So I think it's fair to say it should be equal.
There's 2 foreclosures, I know. Which usually brings some of the values down.
Yeah, I only saw the one foreclosure.
There's one pending upstairs, both on Hickory, both,
Yeah, but
same owner.
Yeah, but what, the little one too is now going, or the big one? The big one in the back that
The
they
big
own?
one in the back. Well, the big one in the back that they live on, that one seems to be okay. The little one.
Well, they own 4. The one they live in,
Your second one is the one they live in. One
Now
of them already went, and now the other one is going.
then the third one in the back, the $1 million one.
Yeah, so that's 80. They're still living in that
Oh,
one.
so that one's not going.
No, but the other ones, yeah. All of their other ones.
We have 4 on that street.
Girl.
I know the one.
Well, then they must be
rent to
under.
the New Yorkers.
Yes. Oh, okay, yes. 82.
That house is $1
yeah.
million house.
Yes, yes.
Now,
And the renters are still there. I just talked to them. So.
Yeah, well,
But
regardless.
that's in an LLC, I believe, so.
Yeah, I live right up there. I live off of
behind it.
Kenyon Road.
Yeah. I know either.
I was gonna say, most people have no idea where Birch Hill.
Well, because your street actually runs right behind my house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I've driven down
Yeah.
that street.
The audience built that house, yeah.
Yeah, Anthony's a nice guy.
Very.
He started blasting it, got everybody a little emotional, but everybody's foundation survived. All right.
Any questions?
No, actually, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good, Del. I know you're still looking at it, so
Yeah.
I'm not ready to close it up. If you have any other issues or questions, let me know. Like we were talking before, I've been doing this for a lot of years. Actually, Norval Lumen dragged me into it many moon ago. Started working with Barbara, and then Michelle came along. And actually, in a couple of years where we had a lot of people, we brought in other assessors to help us. We went from 3, and then we deputized 3 more by the bylaws. So we've worked with a lot of different size groups. We've done a lot of different things. But typically I leave it up to her to work with the people. And as you can see, you're the only one. So, from my standpoint, that has worked out over the years pretty good. We always put a certain budget in, anticipating, people won't be happy with the end result. But, also, this department doesn't spend a lot of money because there's a lot of lawsuits and stuff too. And trust me, we've dealt with some humdingers, from docks to easements to hotels and breakfast, bed and
With land on
breakfast.
the waterfront.
Yeah.
Every one.
To people arguing their land was landlocked and other interesting things. All right. Anything else?
No, I'll just hang out and see how the rest of the meeting plays out, and public meeting, so we'll stick around.
You got it. Fair enough.
Okay.
All right. Pretty much, yeah, because we need to conclude this today. And
I know, I'm aware.
earlier we talked about the land.
Yeah, we already.
And you had mentioned to me that you, looking back at some things, had come out.
I did. I thought the land was a little high. Its original value was 124.
And you ran the numbers earlier today for me.
Yes, they came to 227,150.
Del, do you have any issues with that aspect of it?
On the land,
Which actually would be right in line, and in the end with Carla's value at 324,500 is the fair market. So if she's asking for you fair market, you're asking, or assessed? Did you
You said
understand?
you wanted to talk.
fair market.
Well, 325 would bring it down to,
Fair market is,
that's like 221 or whatever, right?
no, actually, 324.5 I have, and that only brings it to 227.
You have 349 on mine.
Well, no, I talked to Eric and I discussed earlier, and I said I thought your land was high, and I discussed that with him. So we were talking about it and reviewing it. From 349, it would actually, adjusting the land would bring it down to 324.5. But the assessed value is only 227, not 221. That's the difference. I'm not sure where you come up with 221, maybe it's just a calculation error.
Still same percentage?
Yes.
Well, that's what I want to make sure too, that we're both talking apples to apples.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Well, he did say the 13,000, and I was looking for,
That's what it was, yeah. 13.3, I believe it came out to be exactly. But in the end, the value for the whole, everything, the appraised value is 324.5. Which brings your land down to 111,930. And 2% depreciation on the home, because that was not in line. Your depreciation was high, or actually low, I should say.
yeah,
Well, that was the next thing I was gonna.
Yeah, and that was also what we talked about, is the depreciation. We
so
looked at the
that's not,
depreciation.
what is that, like 6% then? And not 9%?
I don't break down percentages. I just know that it would be 324.5 fair market value. So if you put it on the market today, with 325.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so 324 is actually lower than what you asked for. But that's just what we ran earlier.
But are the two of you talking the same numbers? That's what I want.
Yeah, this is fair market value, and you mentioned fair market value.
Right, I did mention the fair market value.
At
but when I originally
325.
did 221 was based on the 9%. I went with 8% reduction. I know you don't do
I don't, yeah, we don't
percentages,
do
so I'm just trying to do the math in my head.
Because everyone will be different percentages. You don't just bracket, 8% across the town.
Now, we were also talking about depreciation.
Yes, that's what I just adjusted. Yes.
And was that factored into the 13, or is that?
That is factored into the 13,
Okay.
yeah. Yes. So that's all factored in. I had already done it before everyone came in so that we had the numbers available to us. So that's why you have the old, it says the old, which is the present one, and then the new one that we were looking at, so we knew the difference.
So you're going to reduce it to 324.
Well, that's what we came up with earlier, yeah. That's what we were discussing.
Yeah.
And again, you did mention 325, and it's already lower than that.
I've had a little jump on Dell. I've been discussing this for the better part of the day.
Ignorance is bliss.
That's right. But that's pretty much what we looked at, just to get,
Right.
I know I talked to you on the phone about it also, because, I also, we went over a few things, just to we don't just arbitrarily
Right.
knock things down just because. So we took, as a matter of fact, she had that in her mind before I even called her this morning. And then we started talking about how old the house was and depreciation and other aspects of it to see where it would reasonably come down to. So that's where we, those were the numbers when she wound up running the numbers when I asked her. That's the number she came
And
in.
it kind of just fell in right in line with what.
Well, there's a discrepancy versus the 221 versus the 325.
Yeah, I think it should be a little bit lower. I would do my math correctly.
Yeah, I was just wondering where the discrepancy is coming from.
I think it's a
Formula.
My assessed value is at 70%. I mean, the
Assessed value for 221 would be 315 fair market.
right, I know that, so I'm trying to come up with, I wrote 325, but when I filled this out, which was not a good experience, and I was under pressure because nobody knew what the applications were. So when I came up with this at that moment, I didn't know I was expected to put a value in there. So I was a little out of sorts at the time.
And because that's what I said to you
I
on the
still
phone
think-
too. We're a small enough town that we're not going to say, like I jokingly said to you, this isn't Watertown where, oh, 20,000 because the data isn't right, 20,000 because they didn't put price on that line, get rid of 20 more thousand applicants because, get it to a manageable amount. I mean, we felt it reasonable, seeing you were the only one, regardless, to,
Eric, if a lot of mistakes are made in assessments and a lot of errors, it could affect, your financing for a small town. That could be pretty devastating.
Oh no, we're very conscientious of the grant list. We're very conscientious because it affects the mill rate.
I know.
And I get my statement telling my escrow account, and they have to either I can give them an extra $180 or suffer for the next 12 months for it. So no, we constantly look at that and keep that in mind.
Yeah.
When we're looking at things.
I still, based on what I felt, if you look at the comp sales at the assessed values, which it's the same thing, it's 30% difference, whether you're looking at the net appraised value or the net assessment. The 221 that I'm requesting on my application does fall into what these are, they're lower than what these are. I still think that it should be a little bit less than what the 13,000 is. I really do. I don't know, taking a closer look at what you did and you found 13 based on these comp sales. I don't know, did you take a look at them through the land falls in the same category?
I mean, the land falls.
The land, you took a look at this and you said my land.
I don't know which, I took a look at your land, yes.
But if you look at
I just pulled out your card and started reviewing it, see if there's any mistakes on it. The land jumped out at me as being high. We have an average of 2 acres that sells, well, technically 1.98. That would sell for about 100,000. Yours is 2 1/4, a little over 2 1/4, and is at 124. I thought that was a little high. If you had put it on the market, I don't think you would get 124. Again, mass appraisal. You fit one model into every unique property in town. Things do come up a little high. Sometimes things come up a little low. That's the value of how it works and the amount of work that goes into the adjustment and changing and adjustment and changing. After reviewing your property, I said to Eric immediately, I said, her land looks very high to me, the land at that time. That was my opinion. That was it. So then we started discussing the card. The land looks right in line right now to me, 111,930 for 2 1/4 acres. And you can sell 2 acres for 100,000 every day of the week today.
Sure. Okay, so
Which is why our grand list actually dropped, just because we had 100,000 for 1 acre. Now we have 100,000
again,
for
pulling up
2.
the one ranch that I found the comparable sale on, that's 100,000 less than mine, and it's graded better than mine.
It's a lovely home, yes, excellent condition, but it's on a main road, a very main highway at that. It's not even a main road like, it's a main road, you're going to Lane White to Litchfield, it's a main road. Those houses sell last of every property. You pick your house up and you put it there, you just declined your property value as well.
That's just a big difference.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying on that.
And it also depends on who's behind them, as far as their neighbors. They do have farming behind them. And they also have the Rod and Gun Club, which, you can clearly hear. I grew up there. That Rod and Gun Club you can hear when they're out there. So they do have a couple issues that are taken into consideration. But I'm very well aware of that property.
I still feel that there's a little bit room to go there, and whatever decision you guys feel is necessary, I don't have anything else to add.
With your new appreciation adjustment, your house is at 212,000. We'll say 213 because it's 212.5. You couldn't rebuild for that. And when you don't have sales by law, you can utilize the buildable costs when you don't have sales. what you would build for, net the depreciation, and get your value for your property. And we were very limited on range sales. They were all foreclosures, actually.
Labor's cheap this day and age, so, I mean, I'm not saying I know what it's gonna cost to rebuild a house, but I'm just trying to keep in mind, there's a lot bigger houses on my street, and it costs a lot to rebuild those as well. And
Right.
values are lower.
They may have had the better sales data. Colonials.
Well, in a neighborhood like that, you know, you're gonna get.
You can only fit, everyone's house is different. You can only squeeze so many in and utilize as much information as you possibly have. And actually, labor may be cheap, but buildable cost is not. Buildable cost right now, to build a home right now is far more expensive than to go out and purchase a home. So they'd be able to purchase your home for $300,000 to rebuild your home. It would be far more money than to purchase it in today's day and age.
Yeah, I always joke, I love the fact, I'm happy with the fact the insurance companies haven't picked up on that. Because I know when I built my house, what it cost to put in the well, the septic, and clear the land, and get it built, and then put a foundation in. So even if the house burnt to the ground, the insurance company says they'll give me cost well in excess of what it cost for me to put everything in, not only just the house. But, no, and the other thing too is, personally I'm well aware, because I used to live on Isaiah Smith Lane. I used to live on Kenya Road, now I live on Birch Hill, and there are a lot of areas and zones and different things that, factor in. And I'll say, I like up where we live. Everybody passes by Hickory Hill, Todd Hill Road, Kenyon, and a couple of private roads on the other side of Kenyon, on the other side of the camp.
Well, Michelle said she was already gonna bring it down to 324. I'm looking for 315, 316. Maybe you can meet me somewhere in the middle. I don't know.
What I do when I put, what we try to do as a committee is come up with a reasonable reason as to why we should reduce it. Where in the assessment, where can we look and see, look at the comps, look at the sheet, and the land stood out, the depreciation was another thing we could do. We don't like just to pick an arbitrary number and tell her this is how you do it, and fudge your sheets to make it match. That's why I always ask her, if you do this, what is it? What is it? If you do that, what is it? So that was really the hard number we came up with. And I think dropping, and a lot of times you got to come in with a real good reason as to why, because a lot of people have left very disappointed over the years.
Well, I brought comparable sales, which show
Yeah.
the values are
Yeah, no, and that's why we're considering the land.
20,000 less than what the value of my house at.
So, Dell, I'm recommending, what is it, actually, 13,400 or something?
Yeah, 13.3, exactly. I think it was.
Okay. Do you have that piece of paper filled out that we normally sign? Is that something you're gonna have to put together?
Yep, I have it all set.
Very good.
Well, actually, it's 17,180.
Yeah, because I was positive you didn't put depreciation in there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So 13 is just the land. I'm sorry. Yeah.
and the
So it's
depreciation.
17,180 is the overall number.
Putting in the
Yeah.
depreciation.
So that was with the depreciation. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, I just calculated the 13.3 for the
So that would bring it down from what? 349.
349 to 324.5.
Dell, I make a motion to reduce the property value by,
Okay.
go ahead and give me that number.
17,180.
Okay. You good with that?
So that brings the land down to,
Oh, the land hasn't changed.
right,
the land was still at 13,
Oh, right.
13.3. It was depreciation value that brought it down another $4,000.
Yeah, 38 the exact number for the.
Wow, we have an audience. This is awesome. We usually do this in a vacuum.
Here's the Board of Assessment
And-
statutes.
Okay.
Should be followed. This meeting, I should have been notified 7 days before.
You were notified for yesterday's meeting,
That's not.
but that's partly why we canceled it, is because you complained that it would be an illegal meeting. We were willing to
I
come in.
complained, Michelle.
That's what, I wasn't here, Carla, I don't know.
Michelle.
But we're here now, beating
that's
things
not
to
the
death
point.
is not gonna help. This is called
Statute,
drama that we don't need in the town hall. So we're here to get your stuff completed, so we'll get your stuff completed. That's all we're
I
here
just
for.
want an answer as to why it wasn't posted accurately the first time. Wait, and it is illegal to have a meeting posted that does not say special meeting.
That actually was just an error. I just took a template from We Always Meet in March, so all I did was change the template and put the new date in. I didn't even think to change it to April. It was a clerical error, it was a very small error. We would have met, but we didn't want to hold an illegal meeting, and according to the town clerk, she didn't feel comfortable with that, and I don't blame her. I don't want her to feel uncomfortable.
And according to the
So-
statute, it says that I
But
need
as
to be
soon as
notified.
you come in the door, you no longer, that notification goes away, because you accepted the fact that the meeting's on a different day. So you're here, so that law is negated at this
So
point.
you don't have to follow the law.
But once you're here, the law is negated, so
FOIA doesn't
there's
believe
nothing you
that.
could do at this point.
Freedom of Information doesn't believe that.
Actually, it's right here in my statute.
Well, see, I heard
More than glad to pull
several.
it out. Once you step in the door, you know that there's a meeting and you're here. That is the law.
12-111, the board shall notify the aggrieved taxpayer who filed a written appeal in the proper form and timely manner no later than April 1st, immediately following the assessment date, of the date, time, and place of the hearing. I did not receive notification before April 1st. I get this is happening. I'm not going to dispute that this is happening. I'm disputing the fact that there's no respect for state statutes or for taxpayers in this town. And Michelle, you know what I'm talking about. I'm still waiting for you to
Only
respond.
one that didn't get a letter. I didn't get a call from anyone saying they didn't get their letter.
I'm not
or
saying
didn't
I'm
get
not
their
the
assessment
I
form.
didn't say that not
You're the
anyone
only one that appealed. I didn't get a call that said, gee, I didn't get my
But you
assessment
got
letter.
several calls from me and you did not respond to one of my calls.
Because you're very difficult to talk to, and I didn't know what else to say to you. We
Then you
discussed
could
it,
put
you
it in writing.
appealed, and
You
we
could
did
put
it,
it in
and
writing.
that's it.
You could put it
So
in writing.
once you appeal to the board,
I'm
you
still
appeal to the
waiting for
board.
you to respond to my March 23rd letter that you told people that you were responding to.
I never discussed
Joe Ferraro told me that you are going to respond to my letter.
talked to
Eric, the
and
chair.
that's that.
Are you the chair?
Yes.
Are you a member of the board as well?
I'm just the secretary
No,
and
she's
the assessor.
secretary.
You know, she's not supposed to be participating.
Participating at all.
Actually, it's up to the individuals on the board, and if they
Yes, I've
so
always-
assume that I could participate.
Yep.
It's right here, actually. Let me pull it out for you.
I teach these statutes for a living, Michelle.
You don't teach Board of Assessment.
Do you want to see my curriculum for my class? Do you want to see my curriculum for the class? I most certainly do.
Let's read here where it states it. I was just reading it earlier.
Because the Board of Assessment Appeals should know that you're not doing partially completed
It's
construction.
an individual.
12-53A.
It's an individual-
Partially completed new constructions of real estate shall be liable for payment of municipal taxes based on the assessed value of such partially completed new constructions
Assessors.
as of October 1st of the assessment date.
Okay, wait a minute, where did that come
But
from? I
see,
feel like we
exactly.
just veered off into a
You
different
want to,
subject.
this is only, we're only discussing your property, and by law, that's all you can discuss here. You cannot discuss other people's property, you can only discuss your own.
You need to answer letters when the public is writing to you.
I'd be more than glad to answer them if I had information to answer them with. I didn't choose, I spoke to my boss, and that's who I worked with. You know, if you'd like to get me an assistant to help, you know.
So you're saying you don't have time to do it?
There's a lot of information. I reviewed your letter. I
Don't
just
you have an
haven't
assistant?
responded.
Well, you don't do COs.
She's only here a couple
You don't do COs and you don't do...
I most certainly do my COs, and I
At
most
least check
certainly
the
do.
information in my letter.
I reviewed the information, but no, I haven't got to it. I'm only one
There's a house people are living in, they're not paying taxes on it.
Which house is that?
194 Todd Hill Road, they've been there since December of 13.
194 Todd Hill Road is very much on the Grand List, and that's the Barone's property, and I'm very aware of the Barone's.
The guy who just built on the canyon.
Yes, yes.
Let's see, I have a copy of it.
And I've already spoke to him, and as long as it's assessed as far as July, that's all that matters.
Is there a change to the grand list on that one?
Well, I can make changes up to 3 years on the Grand List. That is the law. And it actually expresses to me that I may go back 3 years. I still just want to.
Are you still looking up that we?
Yeah, I just keep it's individual. The assessor, field procedure, action by the board, who may appeal.
How often do you do COs, Michelle?
I do COs as they come in.
When's the last time you did one?
I just did 199 West Morris and Richard Hall's property. On Richard Hall's property.
Do you get them from the building inspector?
That's usually the
Does
best.
you input the stuff on Q Public, or does he, the permits and the COs?
The permits are inputted on my system.
What's that?
The permits are inputted on my system. He has his own system.
No, but
He
you
does.
input all the permits, you input the COs?
Yes, all of it.
You input it. He has nothing to do with all that.
He does it on his own side. He has a whole separate thing, and after
So
he
when
gets
you
it,
pull
he
up
puts
your
it on mine.
assessor page and look at a property, all that input stuff's from you.
Yes.
Christopher Barone, 194 Todd Hill Road, the assessment's $51,240. That's pretty cheap for a house.
Right.
Brand new house.
Right. They're properly assessed at this point in time.
So you've corrected it.
They're properly assessed at this point in time. They're a CO, and they've canceled on me twice, and he's a state trooper, and I did not go out to that property until he called me back. And we went back on the list. So he's very well aware of how much he owes, and that is really up to him to come in and discuss with me, not necessarily yourself.
Your job is to discover.
I and I was very much aware of that property, and I spoke to him. You can feel free to call Mr. Barone, because I've spoke to him on several occasions.
So he's assessed for land only?
He's assessed for building and land.
On the grand list, he is not assessed completely. So if she's
And the
doing
grand list
adjustments
is
to the grand list.
Which is my job.
And
You
the
can do
houses,
adjustments.
you're adding their house and their pool that they've been swimming in for a year?
Yes,
And
they're
their
all
barn?
set.
They're all set. You went back
It's funny because I added them on, and they complained and came in and showed me pictures
You
that
added
they weren't on.
you
So I
added
had to
them
go
on.
out and take them
Wrong
off.
house.
You
And then
added
add
them
them
on
back
for
on.
Audio's house. That's what Diana McIntosh told me, that you
Did
added
you
them
want to come and discuss your property, or did you want to, discuss?
I would like you to answer correspondence that I sent you on March 23rd. I am a taxpayer in this town, I pay your salary, and I demand that you respect me.
Well, I believe my supervisor responded to all those letters.
She did not
That's why I
respond.
did not
She didn't
respond
respond
to that.
to me.
But I will respond to you, if that's what you need.
I need you to do your job, Michelle.
Carla, you and I are very different. You brought in sales for colonials, and you're adamant that they're comparable properties. You're not a certified assessor. They are not comparable. They are not. Whether you want to believe so or
Okay,
not,
well, I got that information with the help of a certified assessor,
that's fine.
who's
But
been
that
the
is
president
not.
and is very well versed.
I am very aware of
All right,
it.
let's.
I will.
You're right, this is not the place
It's
and
not
time.
the place and time.
All right.
So
And I
let's-
knew that that's what your meeting would be about, and heard
No,
me.
you weren't supposed to be at the meeting.
I most certainly can be at the meeting.
What's that?
You can be here, you're not supposed to do it.
It
I can
is-
participate.
Is this the norm?
The,
Like at every hearing, which
There's not-
Michelle is here and has this much input? Or is it just you and the other?
Oh, usually the way it goes, the person comes in, they either bring their lawyer or their builder or their grandfather or whoever. They come in, she swears them in, they sit down, she takes minutes, we take notes, we look over the
But it just
information.
seems like she's pretty involved in this one. I'm just curious if this is the
Only in
norm.
this particular one.
Why is that?
Because I got the sense over talking to people over the last couple of days that this was a little more than just dealing with the price of your property. I think it kind of got a little personal. So I didn't know whether or not this would help clear the air or make things worse. But I figured if we got everybody together in the same room to talk about stuff, because I was not privy to the scope or the depth of what was going on. I am strictly concerned And if I wanted to, I could have shut the discussion down any time, after the allotted 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, I was the one that asked Michelle to have this meeting because she had stated, based on the paperwork and other things, and I know you would have gone through the roof, if I had called you up and told you that we weren't going to do it, because I explained to you it's a small town, and we're not going to do that to people. And we've made exceptions through the years when the paperwork isn't filled out right, when somebody comes in and obviously wrote the wrong numbers down on the paper and didn't understand what they were filling out. We walked them through it, we talked to them about it. We have never turned anybody away. We've never been unfair to anybody. Okay? I really felt with discussions with yourself and Michelle, and the depth at which we've gone in this meeting was never conveyed to me. Okay? I have just sat back like a tennis match and watched. To answer your question, though, we have brought in other assessors to sit on the board and help us when we've had 30 or 40, people come in. And we've done this night after night. Everybody gets 15 minutes and we split up into groups. And I will tell you, some of the most spirited discussion goes on between 3 or 4 different assessors because of the way they view things and the way they think of things and what their interpretation of the statutes are. Okay, but going back to your question, normally a meeting isn't like this. It's about 15 minutes of people debating whether their property is fairly assessed, and then in turn, she simply takes notes. Sometimes I do ask her while the person is sitting there, because I think it's unfair if the person leaves and all of a sudden it's like, that was a hardship sale, that was a foreclosure, this was from Washington, and then their whole argument gets thrown out and they have no way of responding back to us. So sometimes I give her the opportunity to ask the person what they were thinking and what they were looking at, just to make sure the 2 people are on the same page.
I would just think that this situation, you would have kept Michelle out of it just because there's a relationship here.
I didn't realize.
And
You said you did.
Did you
What's that?
Did
You
you
said
talk
you
to
did.
her prior to this?
No.
You knew of the situation prior to this meeting. You already
Right,
said
I
that.
didn't realize, and I said it, I didn't realize the depth of the situation. I've got to tell you, in all the years I've done this, in one reval year, we got about 20 or 30 people. And on an annual basis, we're lucky if we get 1 person.
I know. I sat in. I had an appeal one time on property, and when I sat down, there was an assessor in the room. I did not get sworn in. I sat down with the board, and we discussed it for probably less than 15 minutes, and I went on my way with their decision. It seems like you're going out of norm here for some reason.
How many years ago was that?
I'm not sure, Michelle.
No, this is.
You should have been sworn in by law.
Yeah, this is way out of
You
norm.
have
don't
to
have
be
to.
sworn in.
No,
Yes.
and I'm going to say this is way out of norm.
This is not a hearing. It's a meeting.
Correct.
This is a hearing.
Read your agenda.
This is a hearing,
your
an
agenda.
administrative hearing that the Board of Assessment Appeals discusses.
Then we're at the wrong meeting.
This is a hearing
Michelle, we're at the wrong meeting. You made another
where they
mistake with the
hear
agenda.
discussions.
Look at your agenda, Michelle.
Okay, Tom. Okay.
Mayor, I just have one more comment.
Yes.
So prior to this meeting, did you have a discussion with Michelle in regards to this?
Today,
How long did you talk? 15 minutes, 5 minutes?
probably about a half hour, 45 minutes. And most of it was based on the fact of the merits of the case.
Yeah. We talk about properties here. We're not
Did you
talking
talk
about
about the
gossip,
specific
about...
properties?
No, because we're only talking about Ms. Hamill's property. Carla's
Did you
property,
talk
that's
to him
it.
before the meeting about that?
Yes, which is
Okay.
common that we would
So
discuss
you've had
it
a
before.
pretty in-depth conversation, now you're having another one.
Actually, I
Strictly
gave
about real
her.
estate. We don't discuss personal issues. You know.
Right.
I just don't think you should
That's
be
petty.
involved.
You know,
You weren't before,
and...
why are you now? Because it's a personal issue.
Plus,
No, it's not, because I'm at every meeting that they have,
plus
and I'm allowed to
you
be as long
discussed
as
it
the
with
board
Dell over
allows
the
me
phone,
to.
which is also a meeting, which was not posted.
Well, then, what are you gonna do? I mean, we're here now, so once you're here now,
Well, proper
you accept the fact that it was
procedures.
posted.
Give her, due diligence to make sure she's getting the proper meeting or hearing, I guess you would call it now. I'm not sure which it is anymore.
I'm not going to weigh in on either one.
I'm just saying, there's rules, there's procedures, there's statutes. They have to be followed. They should be followed. Not.
That's correct.
There were,
Well, once you step foot in the door, you
No.
accepted the fact that they were followed or not followed.
You can tell that to FOI in Hartford, and they'll say, Michelle, you are very wrong.
I always file my
And
agendas, and
this
which
agenda
I did.
that you filed here is also wrong.
It was incorrect, so we
It still
bumped the
is.
meeting for a day.
No, this one, the last one, is incorrect. This
I
is a
don't know.
special meeting.
But now you're here.
But it's a
So
hearing.
once you get here,
Michelle, you don't understand, do you?
I do understand the difference between a hearing and a meeting, and Board of Assessment Appeals is.
But you don't know FOIA, do you?
I'm not in and out. No,
I guess you don't, 'cause you violated
I'm
it.
doing my job.
Because you violated it.
I don't believe it is, because I believe that once you step foot in the door.
The
you
agenda
accept
is
that.
not just for the people who are here right now, it's for the people who have seen it posted,
Right,
right?
right. And it was posted,
So
it was
it's
just
still an illegal
unfortunately had
meeting.
the wrong date on it.
So it's still, this meeting tonight is illegal, not posted properly.
Do you usually post there?
No,
do I know? She usually contacts me and lets me know what's going on and how many we have, who they are, and we usually get packages ahead of time, but she had
So were you
stated.
notified by yesterday's meeting? Did you have
No.
knowledge of yesterday's meeting?
No,
So how was
because
you supposed to attend the meeting you didn't know about?
I was told that the town clerk deemed it, and this is only what I was told.
Yeah.
So you guys can run whatever conspiracy theories
No,
going on here that I'm unaware of.
You're supposed to be aware of it 24 hours before it happens.
Right. What happened was
You weren't.
the meeting was posted incorrectly.
Oh, I know, yeah.
So the town clerk said, no, the meeting cannot occur. Okay. When I contacted Michelle about it, she said the paperwork was filed incorrectly and that there was a potential for not even having a meeting or the need to have a meeting because of the improper paperwork. But we discussed that was not going to happen.
Oh, no, can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
I don't want to say too much. Okay, so you have a meeting. So Michelle calls you up and says, okay, I'm making an agenda for Thursday, okay? Okay, great, hang up. That didn't occur. You found out that there was a meeting on Thursday. You found out about it today, right?
No, I found out about it yesterday.
You found out about the day of the
Last night when I
meeting.
called them at 6 o'clock.
Is that normally what happens? You found out the meeting the day of it?
No.
So why didn't you notify them that was a meeting, I guess?
I thought we did. I thought I did send them a
Did you
letter.
notify Bill?
No, I did
You thought
not.
you sent
No,
them
I
something?
I thought I did mail them a letter.
I don't think you mean
Mailed them a letter
You know-
within 24 hours?
We usually get a letter or
Well,
an
no,
email.
I would have mailed it April 2nd.
Talking about tonight's meeting.
But I mean, if you saw
Well, I
my
talked to him
application was
yesterday,
no
so-
good, then why would you send me this saying that I had a meeting?
Because I already had accepted that, we might as well just move forward with
Then you
it.
should never have been brought it up. It was a moot point if you accepted it.
Well, exactly, no one said it was a
You
moot
did.
point, you know, you're
You
here
brought it
now.
up to him today.
I said there were a couple errors with the issue.
It
with her
almost was not
application.
going to have a meeting, but yet I have something that you said I had a meeting.
And you discussed that you were at the meeting yesterday, but you're here today and you're complaining about not having a meeting, so you're still
You're a really good
talking
talker.
about it.
I wish I had.
I wouldn't say
I
she's
wish I could
complaining.
say what is you at night.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't say she's complaining.
I
I think this has been jumbled from day one. When you saw there was an error on her application, you call her up and say, hey, there's an error on the application.
I don't
Only like
call
tell her
people.
now.
You don't call
I
people's right.
don't need to.
I know you don't
By law,
call.
I shouldn't have to call someone. It's their responsibility.
I called
to
you
do
on
it.
the
Do your job.
You know,
I
Do your
called
job,
you the
Michelle.
next day, Michelle.
I do not
You're
require
serving
to
the public.
call.
You're serving the public.
Tommy,
Michelle.
give me an assistant and more hours.
You
and
have
I'm
an
more than
assistant.
glad to
Have
do
you
that.
asked for more hours?
Do you know
Did
how
you
much
ask for more
work
hours?
is in my office,
Did you ask for
Tommy?
more hours, Michelle?
Tommy, you come in here
Michelle,
and
did
you
you
spew
ask for
out
more
all this
hours?
crap as if you don't know
Excuse me?
how much work is in
Did you
my
ask for more
office.
hours, Michelle? Can you answer that question?
I'm sorry?
Did you ask for more hours?
I did ask for more hours.
When?
I asked Barbara for more hours. We're supposed to put it
Where's-
in.
where's
She
your
told me
budget?
to file something with the Board of Finance.
Yeah.
That's all we had to do.
And?
Right. I just talked to her like in the last week.
And you did it, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes,
It's in your budget then.
it is in my budget, which is approved by Barbara before I go to the Board of Finance. That's how it works.
Well, you didn't go to the Board of Finance.
No, I haven't gone to the Board of Finance.
You've never been to the Board of Finance.
No, not yet.
Eric, thank you for hearing my
Notice that.
appreciate your time.
No problem.
That's why when I talk to people who are very difficult to talk to,
Well, she
when
was
they're
under
not
better
really listening to
circumstances.
what I have to say.
That's a very good point.
You know, so it's almost unfortunate that even if I was to go and give
You could
you
almost
facts,
turn that
you
around,
don't seem to
Michelle.
want to. You don't want the facts.
You could
Tommy.
almost turn that around, Michelle.
Well, that's what you think, but you're not the assessor. You haven't been to school to be the assessor.
Well, I hear that all the time.
Feel free to go take some
Eric, what
classes
happens
and
when
come
there's a
in.
tie?
What happens if there's a tie?
I think you already made a motion.
Yeah, I made a motion, and I think Dell's mulling. We're giving him plenty of time to mull it over. But no, if there's a tie, that's a good question. I do not know what the procedure is of that.
I wouldn't think Michelle breaks your tie.
No.
No, I think we probably have to get Jim involved, or there's got to be a procedural process
Yeah,
to do
I
it.
don't think we have time for that. The Board of Assessors feels like that.
Well, it has to end today. Has to end today by law. So, but and Michelle, I apologize if you feel that I let this get a little out of control.
Not at all. Not at all. Don't
Okay.
don't
Because
need to apologize to
I had
Every
a funny feeling this went a little deeper than normal. And trust me, we've dealt with some pretty nasty issues in the Board of Assessment Appeals. You know, we've kicked things back to the selectmen, we've kicked things back to planning and zoning, because my point is, we're not going to make policy in the town here. And there's been a lot of things where people come in wanting to know what our opinion is and what our ruling's going to be, you know, to go back to the other places and say this is what we're going to do. But I have a funny feeling that, am I correct in assuming that the public feels that we have not done our job on this?
Who, you?
Well, the board.
I
I mean, I'll take
don't have
it.
any problems with the board.
Okay.
It's only me.
I think it was poorly handled. I'm sorry though, but the board does have some responsibility in notifying me, whether it's your responsibility or you're allowing Michelle to do it. That stuff was not done properly. And so I do feel like as a resident, I was not allowed my statutory right. You know, it wasn't done properly. And that's why I gave you a copy of the statute, so you guys can familiarize yourself for future. I mean, you guys have to meet every September by law. And when was the last time you met in September? I could tell you what the minutes say, but let's see if you know.
I actually talk to Michelle about twice a year because we deal
Okay,
not
but
only
the
with
Board
auto.
of Assessors has to have a meeting every September, and within 24 hours of that meeting, those minutes have to be filed in the town clerk's office. Am I right, Michelle, or am I wrong?
They have to be if they have a motor vehicle, technically.
No.
You're supposed to sit and wait for motor vehicles to.
You have to have a meeting in September. Is that not the law? Tell me yes.
It is a law
It is.
that we
The
have
last
to have.
time that the minutes were recorded is March of '09.
They haven't needed to meet.
Yeah, it doesn't, there's not about a need, it is actually a law that the Board of Assessment Appeals meets every September. Whether there's an appeal or not, they have to post the meeting.
Okay.
It has in the newspaper.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle.
Okay, what do you want me to
Am I
tell
wrong?
you?
Tell me that I'm wrong.
We're supposed to meet in September if we
Okay.
have motor vehicle.
No, the
appeals.
board is supposed to meet.
No, the board is
The board is supposed to meet,
The
yes.
board is
Not
supposed to
we.
meet, not whether you have appeals. Every September, check with OPM. I spoke to Shirley Corona yesterday.
March, I speak to Shirley all the time, and I will talk to Shirley.
Please do. I spoke to her yesterday.
Okay, I
She
will
was
ask
appalled.
Shirley.
She was appalled that I said that there was no meeting in September.
Right.
She goes, whether there's appeals or not, they have to show up and be there for at least 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, they can close the meeting, and then that has to be posted in the town clerk 24 hours later.
Okay, well, I'll have the volunteers come in every September. Because they're volunteers.
They're elected.
Yes, but they're still volunteers.
They're
They're
elected
okay.
officials. It doesn't matter about that. If you're elected,
Okay, you're okay. I don't know what answer you want me to give you, Carla. We will have them meet.
no, don't do me any favors. Do the law. Follow the statutes. That's all I'm saying.
Eric, to have,
Just answer your question about the public.
Yes.
You asked the question if the public thinks you were in the wrong,
Yes.
that you guys are not doing your job. I think it just seems odd that this was pushed to the very last minute. Obviously, you can only do this till the 30th, right? I'm not quite sure why you're here on the 30th when Mrs. Hamill put it in, whatever, a month, 6 weeks ago, whatever. The fact that you didn't know about a meeting
Or
and it wasn't posted correctly.
And I am not going to sit here.
And I think the last thing I want to say is I think if you don't owe anybody an apology, I think you owe her an apology for you guys messed this whole thing up.
And I
You've
did.
been giving her the runaround the whole entire time.
And on the phone call today,
Yeah, you
I
can say
did,
that.
I did apologize
The last minute.
to you. And
Still getting done. It's
Ridiculous.
nice.
But, you know, to make a long story short, I mean, the guys in this room know me. Have known me for years. And I'm not a politician. And I'm not going to make any excuses. And when I say the board and I say Michelle, you can, I mean, if she's going to get shot, I'm going to stand next to her. Okay? Bottom line is, I'm the chairman of the board. If things weren't followed due to my ignorance, there's no excuse to that because it is public policy and it should be done. Okay? I have no agenda when it comes to anything in this town. I'm probably the most neutral person there is.
And
Okay?
I do believe that, and
All right.
that's why I'm here.
All right.
I know you're neutral.
And I do not look at things as to where taxes are and as to whether we should tax or